You're listening to Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill Gaming Podcast. Here's your host, John Wall.
It's March 5th, 2026, and welcome to episode 174 of Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill video game podcast. I am your host, John Wall, and every Thursday morning I bring you 15 minutes of video game impressions, industry news, and tales of a Gen X geek. Thank you so much for tuning into the program today. I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. I'm having a good day so far. It's getting warm here in Minnesota. It's like like 50 degrees. That's like hot. On this week's show, I am going to be talking about the game TCG Card Shop Simulator. Wow. But we start the show off with a look at the headlines from this past week. And if Xbox's strategy is everything is an Xbox, a new report from Bloomberg states that Sony's position moving forward might as well be nothing else is a PlayStation. The report states that Sony is planning to reverse course and pull back on its plans to bring most of their PlayStation titles to PC. It goes on to say that Sony has canceled plans to bring last year's Ghost of Yotai and the upcoming Saros to PC players, although they do still plan on bringing Marathon and Marvel Token? I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. The Marvel fighting game to other platforms. And while the story doesn't cite any concrete reasons for this change in strategy, it does speculate that Xbox's plan to release a console which also plays Steam games may at least be partially responsible. After all, it might not be the best look if Xbox is able to sell you a box that lets you play all Xbox games, PC titles, and PlayStation games all in one unit. I think, though, that there's probably more to it than that. I think it's also kind of interesting how both Xbox and PlayStation have been bringing their games to PC, but it seems like that strategy hasn't backfired and soured PlayStation fans as it seemingly has for Xbox owners. PS5 continues to sell like bonkers, even though, many of their biggest titles have now become available on PC. And even though I think that the quality of some of their PC ports has been a little iffy, I imagine that PC players will still be pretty bummed about this news, and I'll be curious to see if they do keep releasing multiplayer games across platforms, or if we're going to see games like MLB The Show and Helldivers disappear from Xbox consoles in the future. It'll also be interesting to see if this is an industry-wide trend, as new Xbox CEO Asha Sharma seemed to hint at a console-first approach when she took over last month. So a couple of things that I don't know that I've mentioned before. One, when I was a kid back around, the mid-90s, I was really into collectible card games. In particular, the Star Trek card game. I remember going to the gas station with, what little money I had and buying a couple of packs at a time. And this was like right around the time I think that Next Generation was wrapping up its run. So I'd be hoping to get my favorite characters like Picard or Worf. I was also into games like Alien vs. Predator. There was one based off Wildstorm comics and Xena Warrior Princess. Yes, I was a huge Xena fan. The other thing, which I think I've maybe mentioned before, is that for about 5 years or so, I worked at a comic book store, Hot Comics and Collectibles in New Hope, Minnesota. So I spent many afternoons stocking shelves with comics, sorting Magic the Gathering cards, and trying to explain to people why this particular Luke Skywalker action figure was so expensive because its lightsaber was slightly longer than it was supposed to be. my point is, I think there's a part of my brain that was wired to get hooked on a game like TCG Card Shop Simulator. There are millions of these types of games at this point. You've got your farming simulators, your trucking simulators, water park simulators, police simulators, bookstore simulators, power wash simulators. And scrolling through Steam now, I see Woman Simulator, which I don't think I even want to know. There is a whole boom around video game simulations of pretty boring everyday jobs. And I was really just kind of expecting to play this for like 30, 40 minutes or so and be done with it. But it kind of has its hooks in me. So you start off with a pretty small shop and like one shelf, and your phone is going to be your hub to do pretty much everything in this game. Restocking the store, upgrades, hiring staff. So you buy some cards, you grab the delivery box from the sidewalk, you fill up the shelf, set a price point, and then you ring out customers as they shuffle in. It's a very basic core loop. Keep the place stocked and ring up your customers. Now, the more customers you get, you'll gain experience points and your shop will level up, unlocking new features. You'll get the ability to sell boxes of packs instead of just individual boosters. You'll be able to bring in accessories like card sleeves, binders, dice, figurines, playmats, all sorts of stuff, which means you're going to need more shelving, and eventually you're going to need to expand your store. It's a pretty constant drip feed of unlocks that are timed just right to keep you playing just a little bit longer, just one more day. You can also hire staff that you can assign to do any of the tasks that maybe you don't want to do yourself, like working the register or stocking those shelves. And you can buy tables to have tournaments in your store, which brings in even more customers and more profit as players, they need to pay per hour for that space. One feature that may or may not offend you if you play these kinds of games is that you'll come across a lot of stinky customers, which you'll be able to identify by the green cloud that follows them, and you need to spray them down with deodorant so that they don't scare off other customers. And yes, that's kind of stereotypical, but also as someone who worked in one of these stores for a long time, yeah, I get it. I think maybe the most addicting part, though, for me is tearing open packs. At any point, you can just grab a pack off the shelf or a whole case if you want and just rip open booster packs. And anyone who has collected any kind of card before knows that satisfying feeling of tearing open a pack, flipping the cards over, and hoping for some extra super rare card. And even though these are, it's just a pretend card game, it's still exciting when you pull some super rare foil card that is worth a bunch of money, and then you can either display it in the store or sell it for a big profit. And the art on the pretend card series, which is called Tetramon, I think, it's actually pretty solid. It's got cool characters, decent art. It's obviously all very, inspired by Pokemon, let's say, but they still look pretty neat for a made-up game. All the cards have stats and info on them, which makes me wonder if there's like an actual game with rules kind of behind all this. I wouldn't make the case that, TCG Card Shop Simulator is some brilliantly designed game that revolutionizes the simulator genre. But it's a concept that I find very fun, and the steady pace of unlocks keeps me coming back almost every night to play more. If nothing else, so that I can unlock the auto scent T100 to spray deodorant on all the stanky nerds who walk through my door. Did you know that March is Autoimmune Awareness Month? And as someone who is so lucky to have not one, but two autoimmune diseases, I highly encourage you to get educated on the subject. An autoimmune disease is when your immune system decides to be a complete jackass and attack your own body, and they're often hard to diagnose. On average, it takes 4 years for people to receive a diagnosis, going to multiple doctors before they can pinpoint what's going on, which is absolutely true in my case. It took a while. So the more you know about it, the better prepared you're going to be. There are approximately 140 different autoimmune diseases, and they affect over 50 million Americans. We're talking about everything from MS to lupus, or my personal favorite, Crohn's disease. Ah, yes, if you enjoy the idea of suddenly waking up in the middle of the night to discover that you crapped your pajamas, you're going to love Crohn's disease. So visit autoimmune.org to get loads of information on the different diseases and conditions, how to get checked out, what to look for, or how to donate to various organizations committed to fighting these diseases. Thank you for listening to Midlife Side Quest. I appreciate you making time in your day to hang out with me. You can catch a new episode every Thursday morning wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. So until next time, I'm your host, John Wall. Have a great rest of your week, and don't forget to save.